I'm Alex Weathersby, and this is my web series review for Frankenstein MD. Frankenstein MD is a Pemberley digital web series that is based off Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's about the young, soon-to-be doctor Victoria Frankenstein and her experiments with life and death. Some things I really liked about this web series was the fact that it does take on some darker themes. A lot of web series, especially literary-based web series, tend to be very focused on romance and getting married, finding the one. It was really nice to see a web series that definitely raises a lot of stakes. It was also a relatively risky move. Because the web series is relatively short, I also liked that the cast was small. It definitely felt like we got a good general sense of everyone's different relationships, and I feel that since Victoria as a character does not seem very personable, and it's said several times in the series that there's a lot of people within her life that don't really get her, who don't really vibe with her personality. I think having a smaller cast was definitely best to spend the most time on the relationships that were formative for her, specifically her relationships with her two friends, Eli and Rory, and her assistant, Iggy. I also liked how the original focus of the web series is science. It begins as a channel for Victoria, but also for Iggy, to videotape themselves doing experiments and to sort of explain the science behind some of their endeavors. Throughout the series, we see that although she claims to be very science-based and very facts-focused, Victoria actually does have a lot of unacknowledged emotional pain and an emotional struggle that informs why she does some of the things that she does. And so it was very interesting to be watching a supposedly purely scientific setting and then seeing her act in a very emotional way and refuse to give up on certain things that maybe aren't ethically or morally safe because she's so emotionally invested. So I thought that was a very interesting framework for the series. I also thought that making Victoria's character a woman and having some of her ambitious nature be rooted in the fact that she is a woman and so she is not expected to succeed as a scientist and she is not expected to put science above her other relationships. I think that added an extra layer to the character of Frankenstein. So I think that was a really good choice. Some things that I didn't like about this web series was I felt for a series that is a vlog style and is supposedly done from one camera, it was very odd that occasionally the camera angle would change. I felt like that was very odd and jarring. I think if you really want to do multiple angles, then you really have to think about how you're going to do that within your framework, or just have a TV style or mixed styles. I know that a lot of the events are based off of book events, so I feel like to some degree these next couple of comments are more of a fault of following the canon, but I didn't really feel that the romance was relevant, especially since Victoria's friendships are what's really formative for her and not necessarily the fact that she falls in love with Eli. He was her childhood friend and they'd been friends, and then Rory's her friend from college, so I felt like a lot of the background for their relationship was given to us through backstory and we didn't actually get to see on screen, especially since Rory and Eli are dating at the beginning of the web series and then break up. So it just felt very jarring to be expected to root for the romance and to be very invested in it. I didn't personally feel like enough time had been spent on it for me to really feel it. And similarly, I felt that Rory's death was not responded to as seriously as I felt it should have been, especially since Eli had dated her, regardless of whether it was a relationship out of convenience. That's still someone that you've been with, and I felt like for Victoria being so extremely invested in Robert and that being her turning point morally, to then have someone who was her very good friend be killed, I felt like that the response to that would have been a lot more dramatic than it was. I felt it didn't carry throughout the rest of the series. It felt like a consequence that was then glossed over because so many other things were going on. Victoria's humanity depends on these relationships with other people. To view her as a maybe unlikable but relatable character, she has to have some sort of connection with other characters. She has to be relatable, at least in the sense that you can see how other people can love and want and interact with her. It's frustrating when one of the only elements that's humanizing your character, her friendship with other characters, is then not given the time it deserves when those relationships are severely tested, or in the case of Rory's death, destroyed. And so I feel like that was something this web series was definitely lacking in getting all of their plot points and all of their characterization done the way they wanted. I would watch this web series if you're really into science, if you really like supernatural web series, especially supernatural series that go into darker themes, then this might be a good web series for you. A lot of supernatural series, specifically ones that don't have a science fiction basis but are more of a fantasy basis, tend to be a lot more lighthearted and a lot more comedic. This is definitely has a few comedic elements, but it's definitely a lot darker and more science fiction based. And if you really like web series that take a look at life or death stakes, have definitely higher stakes than just are they going to end up with so-and-so or not, then I would definitely give this web series a try. If you prefer TV style series and you don't like for the audience and the characters to interact at all, then I would not watch this web series. It's done mainly as a show that Iggy and Victoria are putting on together, kind of like a learning channels vibe, at least at the beginning. If you like series that have happy endings or a lot more lighthearted, this probably isn't the series for you. The book that it's based on is very sad. It's a commentary on humanity and humans' right to create life and to surpass death, which definitely don't make for a very lighthearted, fluffy fare. As always, comment, like, and subscribe. I have my Tumblr linked down there if you would like to give me a recommendation or if you think I was way off the mark with any of my reviews. So yeah, I will see you next time.